You're standing in a bright showroom at Best Buy. The demo wall is blasting neon cityscapes, every screen glowing like it's powered by the sun itself. A sales tag catches your eye. It says, Dolby Vision 2, Cinematic HDR. It's on sale. It looks incredible. So you buy it, you get home, you mount it on the wall, you dim the lights, cue up your favorite movie, and settle in. And then it hits you. That cinematic picture looks flat. Dark scenes are crushing all the detail you paid for. Highlights aren't popping the way they did in the store. Motion feels weird, almost like you're watching a soap opera filmed in someone's backyard. What happened? Here's what most people don't realize when they're standing in that showroom. Retailers often sell exclusive model numbers that look nearly identical on the shelf, but use cheaper panels underneath. Some TVS with a Dolby Vision badge have a cut-down local dimming system, or a weaker processor that can't keep up with what the format actually demands. And the store demo mode? That's artificially boosting brightness to levels you will never see in your living room. Oh, and one more thing. There is no official format called Dolby Vision 2. It's marketing shorthand, a label, a way to make a product sound like a next-generation upgrade when, in many cases, the hardware underneath is firmly last generation. Today we are ranking 12 major TV brands you'll find at Best Buy, Costco, Walmart, Target, and Amazon. We're going from the worst Dolby Vision traps all the way up to the models that are actually worth your money, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for and what to walk away from. Let's start at the very bottom. Number 12. Samsung. You'll see this brand dominating the premium wall at every major retailer. Floor-to-ceiling screens, massive price tags, and marketing language that implies Samsung is at the cutting edge of everything picture-related. And here's the thing. Samsung does make excellent televisions. The QN90D is a great TV. The S95D is a great TV. If you're shopping for a premium display, Samsung absolutely deserves a spot on your short list. But if you are specifically shopping for Dolby Vision, this is the biggest mismatch in the entire store. Samsung does not support Dolby Vision. Not in their budget models, not in their mid-range models, and not in their flagship models. The format they use is called HDR10+, and while it's a capable format in its own right, it is not Dolby Vision. When you sit down to watch a Dolby Vision title on Netflix, your Samsung TV will fall back to standard HDR10. That's what you paid for. The frustrating part is that retail signage often implies advanced HDR without ever clarifying which format is actually supported. Shoppers walk out assuming they're getting the full premium experience, and they don't discover the truth until they're home and notice Netflix isn't showing that little Dolby Vision badge in the corner. Samsung makes amazing televisions, but if Dolby Vision is your priority, and that's specifically what brought you to this video, then Samsung is the wrong store for you. That's not a knock on the brand. It's just an honest mismatch. At least Samsung is upfront about what it doesn't support if you dig into the specs. The next brand on our list technically supports Dolby Vision, but barely. Number 11. Insignia Best Buy exclusive. You've seen Insignia, it's on every budget end cap at Best Buy, usually with a tag that makes it look like an unbelievable deal. And the Dolby Vision badge is right there on the box. So what's the problem? The problem is that a badge doesn't guarantee performance. Insignia televisions are hitting peak brightness numbers somewhere around 400 to 450 nits in most configurations. That might sound like a lot if you're not familiar with the numbers, but for Dolby Vision to actually look the way it's supposed to, it's the way the filmmakers intended, you generally want to be well above that. High-end displays are reaching 1,000, 2,000, even 3,000 nits in peak highlights. On top of the brightness limitation, There's essentially no meaningful local dimming happening in Insignia sets. Local dimming is what allows a television to make bright highlights pop while keeping dark areas genuinely dark. Without it, everything kind of exists in the same washed-out middle ground. And the Fire TV operating system, while functional, can feel sluggish on lower-end hardware. Panel consistency also varies, which means two Insignia sets sitting side by side could look noticeably different. Budget shoppers. Here's the honest truth. Insignia is fine for casual daytime viewing. If you're watching the news, catching up on a sitcom, or using it as a secondary set in the bedroom, you probably won't be disappointed. But if you're buying this TV because you want to experience Dolby Vision movies the way they were mastered, the hardware isn't there to deliver that. Dolby Vision badge, entry-level performance. And it's not alone in that category. Number 10. Philips, Walmart, and Target. Philips is the quiet budget alternative. You'll find it on shelves at Walmart and Target, and it tends to attract buyers who want something a step above a department store brand without paying full retail prices. The issue with Philips in the current market is similar to Insignia. The HDR performance is limited by modest brightness ceilings and edge-lit panels in most of the sizes you're going to find on the floor. Edge-lit means the backlighting comes from the sides of the screen rather than from directly behind the image, and that limits how precisely the TV can control light and dark areas. The software situation is generally stable. Roku and Google TV versions are both available depending on the model. But historically, Philips hasn't been aggressive with firmware updates, which means you might be sitting on the same software a year from now that you opened the box with. For the price, Philips delivers decent value. You're not getting ripped off, but you're also not getting a Dolby Vision experience that's going to impress anyone who knows what they're looking at. Budget-friendly, but not ready to showcase what Dolby Vision can do. Now we move into brands that try harder, but still cut corners. Number 9. Vizio. Vizio has had an interesting run. For a while, this brand was genuinely punching above its weight, delivering spec sheets that outpaced similarly priced competitors. Some of that reputation still holds in the mid-range, but the story depends entirely on which Vizio you're buying. The MQX models actually support Dolby Vision gaming, which is a legitimately useful feature if you're also a console gamer. The picture performance in that tier is solid for the money. If you're shopping in the $400 to $600 range and you find an MQX, it deserves consideration. The V-Series, on the other hand, is a different story. Brightness levels are modest enough that HDR content doesn't have much room to breathe. The impact that makes a sunrise look radiant or an explosion look genuinely jarring. That requires headroom in the brightness department, and the V-Series simply doesn't have enough of it. SmartCast, Vizio's operating system, runs slower than what you get from Roku or Google TV. It gets the job done, but it can feel like the software is working against the hardware rather than alongside it. Long-term reliability has also been a concern in buyer feedback. Not every unit, but inconsistency across batches is something worth knowing before you commit. Mid-tier Vizio is acceptable. Budget-tier Vizio is a gamble. Choose your model carefully. Number 8. Amazon Fire TV Omni Series. If you've spent any time on Amazon, you've seen these. The Fire TV Omni Series shows up constantly in sponsored placements, usually with a competitive price and specs that look impressive on a product page. Mini LED backlighting, Dolby Vision IQ, numbers that would have been impressive at twice the price just a few years ago. And the hardware, on paper, holds up reasonably well. Brightness is decent. The Dolby Vision IQ feature, which adjusts the picture based on your room's ambient lighting, actually works and adds real value in a living room that changes between day and night viewing. Here's where it gets complicated. Fire OS. Amazon's operating system has become increasingly ad-heavy over time. The home screen is filled with promoted content and recommendations that feel more like browsing a storefront than navigating your own television. That's a frustration that's difficult to appreciate until you've lived with it for a few months. Performance can also degrade over time. The experience you have in month 1 may not be the experience you have in month 13. Software updates don't always improve things, and the platform's commercial priorities don't always align with what's best for your viewing experience. Decent hardware, cluttered software, a good experience in the short term that may wear on you over time. Number 7. Sharp 2025 Re-entry models. Sharp is making a comeback in the US market, and it's actually more interesting than most buyers realize. The 2025 Mini LED models from Sharp are competitive on brightness. Dolby Vision is properly supported, not technically supported on a spec sheet while being inadequately implemented, but actually supported in a way that produces a recognizable improvement in picture quality. The honest caveat is that Sharp is still rebuilding its reputation in the American market. The track record from recent years isn't as established as what you'd find with brands that have been consistently competing here for the last decade. Availability can vary significantly by retailer, which means you may not be able to find the model you want locally. If you're an early adopter who's done the research and found a specific Sharp model that benchmarks well, there's a legitimate case for it. But for most buyers, the cautious approach is to wait another product cycle, while Sharp proves it can deliver consistent quality at scale. Promising. Still proving itself. Quick reality check before we get into the top half of this list. Just because two televisions look identical sitting next to each other in a warehouse doesn't mean they are. Retailers regularly use exclusive model numbers, sometimes with slightly weaker processors, fewer local dimming zones, or a different panel tier, to hit a specific price point. The TV on the floor at Costco may look like the TV on the floor at Best Buy, but open the spec sheet and you might find real differences underneath. And when you see a $400 price drop on a premium set, sometimes that discount is real, and sometimes it's hiding a panel that was never bright enough for premium HDR in the first place. If this already saved you from a bad deal at Best Buy or Walmart, hit subscribe, because the next 6 might shock you. Number 6. Roku Plus Series QLED. Here's one most people don't see coming. Roku is known as a software company. It's the little stick you plug into a television that didn't come with a smart platform you liked. Most consumers don't think of Roku as a TV brand, but the Plus Series QLED changed that perception for a lot of buyers who decided to take a chance on it. Peak brightness hits respectable levels for the price tier. Local dimming is genuinely functional, not perfect, but meaningful enough that dark scenes look darker and bright highlights stand out in a way that cheaper sets can't match. And the Roku operating system, whatever you think of the hardware, is widely regarded as one of the fastest and cleanest platforms on the market. It doesn't get in your way. Pricing at Best Buy and Walmart has been competitive, which means you're getting more actual performance per dollar than several brands ranked higher on the reputation scale. The buyer sentiment around the Roku Plus series can be summed up in 3 words: pleasantly surprised me. That's not the most exciting endorsement, but for a TV purchase, it might be the best one. Strong mid-range value. Genuinely worth a look. Number 5. TCL is the spec sheet powerhouse of the value market. And the thing about spec sheets is that they can be honest or misleading depending on which model you're reading. Let's start at the top of the TCL lineup. The QM8 is a legitimate contender at its price point. Brightness numbers are impressive for what you're paying. Local dimming performance is meaningful. Dolby Vision tone mapping is handled well enough that enthusiast reviewers have consistently pointed to the QM8 as a genuine performance leader in the mid-range to premium space. If you want a mini LED television that delivers an HDR experience you can actually see and feel, the QM8 deserves serious consideration. The Q7 sits in a reasonable middle ground. Not as bright as the QM8, but still a competent performer at its price. Then there's the S4, and here's where the model matters conversation becomes critical. The S4 lacks meaningful local dimming, edge-lit backlighting, modest brightness, and a spec sheet that still carries the TCL brand name. It's a perfectly acceptable entry-level television. It is not a Dolby Vision showcase. Software also varies within the TCL lineup. Google TV versions tend to run more smoothly than Roku versions in our experience, though Roku is faster for UI navigation. Pick your model carefully. The QM8 is the real deal. The rest of the lineup requires more scrutiny. Number 4. Hisense. Hisense has become one of the most aggressive competitors in the premium value space, and the U8N is the reason this brand cracks the top 4. Brightness numbers on the U8N are high. Legitimately high, not marketing adjusted high. In a room where you want highlights to genuinely pop off the screen, the U8N delivers that in a way that most televisions at comparable prices simply cannot. Think of the U8N's brightness performance the way you'd think of an engine with headroom to spare. When the content demands peak output, the hardware can actually answer that call. Dolby Vision IQ is supported. Dolby Vision Gaming is supported. The feature set is complete rather than truncated for a lower price tier. Google TV performance is acceptable, though not class-leading. The one honest concern with Hisense is panel consistency. Some buyers have reported variability between units, uniformity issues, occasional quality control differences. The brand has been improving in this area, but it's worth knowing before you buy. If you have the ability to inspect your specific unit, do so. Performance leader for the money. High value, minor quality control considerations. Number 3, LG. Now the pacing changes, because we're in the top 3, and these are the televisions where Dolby Vision stops being a selling point and starts being an actual experience. LG has been synonymous with OLED television for years, and there's a reason that reputation has held. The C4 and G4 represent the current expression of what LG has learned about building OLED panels, and the result is a Dolby Vision implementation that is consistent in a way that's genuinely difficult to achieve. Tone mapping on LG OLED is handled with precision. The television understands the difference between what a scene is supposed to look like and what it actually displays, and it bridges that gap intelligently. Dark scenes have real depth. Bright highlights don't wash out the surrounding image. Dolby Vision Gaming runs at 4K resolution and 120 frames per second, which matters if you're using your television as a gaming display alongside a home theater setup. The WebOS platform is smooth and responsive, though LG has introduced more advertising into the home screen interface in recent years, a trend worth noting. LG has also made meaningful progress on panel longevity. The burn-in concerns that once dominated the OLED conversation have been addressed through improved materials and software, and long-term reliability for normal viewing habits is no longer the concern it once was. Reliable, consistent, a safe premium choice. If you want an OLED experience at the most accessible price point in the tier, the C4 is hard to argue against. Number 2. Panasonic. Selective US return. Panasonic has always been the accuracy purist's choice, and their selective return to the US market has reminded enthusiasts exactly why this brand has such a devoted following. The color mapping on Panasonic OLED panels is professional grade. When filmmakers and color graders calibrate a movie for Dolby Vision distribution, Panasonic's displays tend to be among the closest to what those professionals actually see in the mastering suite. That's not a casual claim. It's a distinction that shows up in measurable calibration data and in the subjective experience of watching a film that looks exactly the way it was meant to look. Panasonic also supports both Dolby Vision and HDR10+, which gives it broad format coverage. The limitations are real. Availability in the United States is limited and varies by market. Pricing is at the premium tier. You're not walking into a local Walmart and picking one up. If you want a Panasonic, you're probably seeking it out specifically. But for the buyer who wants reference-level accuracy and is willing to do the work to find one, this is the television that professionals reach for when they want to see something the way it was made. Elite picture quality, niche access. Enthusiast favorite where available. Number 1, Sony, and at the top, Sony. This is the best overall Dolby Vision execution you can buy in 2025, and it's not particularly close across the full breadth of the lineup. The Bravia 9 Mini LED is exceptionally bright. Not impressively bright for the price tier, genuinely bright by any standard. Peak highlights on this panel reach levels that put the HDR experience firmly in the territory of what the format was actually designed to deliver. Specular highlights, light glinting off metal, sun reflecting off water, look like they exist in a different luminance space from the rest of the image, because on this panel, they do. The A95 LQD OLED takes a different path and arrives at a similarly remarkable destination. Color volume on this panel. The ability to produce fully saturated colors at high brightness is the best currently available in a consumer display. Reds look like red at full luminance. Blues don't desaturate as you push toward peak brightness. The color fidelity is unlike anything else you'll watch. Motion handling across the Sony lineup is class-leading. Film-sourced content looks cinematic rather than processed. Sports content is smooth, without the artificial quality that motion smoothing usually introduces. Google TV on Sony hardware has been one of the most stable software implementations in the market. Firmware updates arrive reliably. The platform doesn't degrade noticeably over time. Is Sony expensive? Yes. If your budget is moderate, Sony's top tier is probably out of reach. But if you have the budget and you want to buy one television that does everything right, picture quality, motion, software, longevity, Sony is the answer. Best tone mapping, best motion, best overall Dolby Vision execution in 2025. Here's the honest summary. There are 3 tiers in 2025, and knowing which tier your target TV lives in will save you real money and real disappointment. The first tier is the traps. Insignia, Philips, and low-end Vizio are all selling you a Dolby Vision label with limited hardware underneath. These are not bad televisions for what they cost, but they are not Dolby Vision televisions in any meaningful sense. The badge is there. The experience is not. The second tier is the middle ground. Roku Plus Sharp, Amazon Fire TV Omni, and TCL mid-range models all deliver decent performance, some of them surprisingly good performance, if you choose the right specific model. This tier rewards research. The wrong model in this group is a trap. The right model is a genuine value. The third tier is where Dolby Vision actually works the way it was designed to. Hisense U, 8N, LG C4 and G4, and the Sony Bravia lineup. These are the televisions that make the format worth paying for. Best Buy, Costco, Walmart, Target. None of those retailers are selling you bad products. Buying the wrong model is retail exclusive SK-US, brightness specs that sound impressive and aren't, and marketing language that implies more than the hardware delivers. These are the traps that catch buyers who walk in without doing the homework. Dolby Vision 2 is not a secret upgrade. It's marketing language layered on top of hardware reality. The hardware is what you're actually buying. Drop the specific TV model you're considering in the comments below, and I'll tell you whether it's safe or a trap. There's no judgment here. Budget shoppers especially deserve to know what they're actually getting before the money leaves their account. And if this video helped you avoid a bad purchase, subscribe. Because next week, we're pulling back the curtain on the next feature you're probably being overcharged for.